Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today we have the rock star behind Audiokit Pro,
Metthew, Fecher, oh yeah!
So buckle up, my friends. We're going to find out all about Metthew. But first, we're going to take a look at some of the things he makes. Let's do it. Should I give that some applause, guys? Let's just do it. Hello! Welcome to the show. My name is Jade. This is How to App on iOS, and that was a little look at a bit of a project I threw together using this amazing app, one of the many amazing apps created by Audiokit Pro and our special guest today, who is Metthew Fecher. And I'm super pumped. I hope you are too. Welcome all for being here. It's really good to see you all. I'll give you a shout out about half an hour into the show because, excuse me, because we've got to get down and do things. But first, before I bring Metthew onto the show, I want to and need to and have to, because I love to, thank our sponsor for today, the amazing DistroKid. Now, you guys know that I love DistroKid. I've been using DistroKid since about 2016, 15, something like that. Crazy long time, because they provide a magical service for a super cheap price. You can release your music for one low price of $22.99 a year. And there are 3 plans. And I mean, you get unlimited songs, unlimited lyrics, Spotify check marks, collect your earnings. You can split money with other people. DistroKid is amazing. As you can see, 3 plans here for you to choose from. Musician, you get 1 artist. Musician Plus, you get 2 artists. And Ultimate, which is the one I use, you get a lot of artists because I'm greedy. Yeah. So that is DistroKid. Now, over there, right over there to the other side, you'll see distrokid.com/VIP/Jade Starr, and you can get 7% off your first year from DistroKid. We'll talk a little bit more about DistroKid as the show goes on. Once again, I have to say it. I love you, DistroKid. I know it's creepy, but it's a love affair, all right? So just deal with it, guys. So my guest today, who I'm super stoked to have on the show. Now, when I first started creating music on iOS, I'll tell you briefly my little story. I was making music through using a PC for many, many years, and I got my first iPhone and downloaded, I think the first app I ever downloaded was a Crickets app, which you could press a button and hear crickets cricketing, going crick, 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 crick. And I was blown the absolute crap away by that. I was like, what the hell is this sorcery? And who knew that years down the track, we would be sitting here making music using things like Logic Pro. Things have come a long way. And I remember downloading, what was it? Man, there's so many amazing. Synth 1 was the gateway. There we go. Synth 1 was your gateway down here for GarageBand, says Mars Capone. But let me tell you this, Audiokit Pro's apps have been a huge part of my music creation in the early days because it was the standard, man. That's how it was. And Audiokit has just continued to grow and grow and grow and get better and better as time has gone on. So without further ado, let me bring on the rock star behind Audiokit Pro. Ladies and gentlemen, get my applause ready and everything unmuted. Welcome to the show, folks. In the chat, there is an emoji. So remember, you can put Metthew's face in the chat if you are a member of the channel. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Metthew Fecher. Welcome to the show, Metthew.
Hey! Well, this is truly an honor. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Nice one.
It's funny. I'm definitely not a rock star. That implies that I have, fans, money, fame, and fortune, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, all that. That's not really the life here of an app developer.
Do you know why I call you that? So there is a reason. When I first became your friend on Facebook, I remember seeing a picture of you holding some random photo of you on a beach holding a cocktail like laying back in a sun lounge or something, and I was just like, man, this dude's a rock star. And that's always just stayed in my head from one photo. That's it. But first impressions last, as they say.
Well, this is good advice for all developers. Take a picture of yourself on the beach. You'll gain the admiration of musicians everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. I normally start off with a question like, what does music mean to you? Which I'm going to ask. But the first question I really want to talk about today is Logic Pro. Did you have an advanced copy at all before it came out?
No.
Really?
I didn't.
That's shocking.
Right?
Why is that? Why does Pete Johns and Patrick Baird get one and you don't? You're a massive developer.
And it's funny, like, some of our partners, like Kenny, had one, and I was like, well, I guess if there's a problem with any of our apps, he'll tell me.
I think that's really shocking because, developers are the heart and soul of the iPad. Without apps, what is the iPad? What is the iPhone? It's nothing.
Okay. Well, let me join the pitchforks for a second. First of all, I really think Logic Pro is a cool thing, and it's going to bring a lot of attention to iOS as a real instrument. I think like even our sales, like they're 3 times what they were the day before Logic right now. I mean, it might just be a temporary bump, but it seems like people are coming in and finding apps for the first time. But second of all, developers pay $100 a year.
Yes.
And a lot of them don't even break even.
Yes.
And so now we have to pay an extra $5 tax to Apple every month. to test our apps in Logic, because if it doesn't work right, we're going to get the 1-star reviews and everyone's going to hate us. So now we have to pay extra money per month to Apple for the privilege of fixing.
Is that true? So it's an extra $5 now. So wow.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's heard. I guess Logic is subscription now. No one's been talking about it, right?
No one's talking about it.
Is this the first time? Yeah.
It is exciting. It is exciting. And I've seen the negative comments. I've seen the positive comments. And, at the same time, it's really exciting. That's all I care about. It's been so exciting just seeing people come out of the woodwork and talk about making music. Because I do this every day. I look at apps and, every day I'm like, look at this app. And I'm not a salesperson. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to try and excite people. And it feels like sometimes you're banging your head against the wall because you see people going, I'm going to buy this app. I'm going to buy this app. I'm going to buy this app. And then you go look at their YouTube channel and they've got no music on their channel. And you think, what is going on, guys?
Well, I'm not here to judge anyone's music because, here's the thing too about making instruments or maybe being a YouTuber is like you sometimes lose the sheer joy of making music. And I found that, I was so deep into like coding 12 hours a day that I didn't want to come back and then make a song. But now I've been forcing myself to write music, and I've made like 60 songs in the past 6 months. And it just brings the joy back. And it also makes me approach things as a musician. So I think like King of FM and all our future apps are coming from a place of love of music and from a musician standpoint, again, which I lost. I think I lost the plot for a couple of years because I was just coding and not being a musician. So.
And that shows in your latest app too, which we opened up with today with King of FM, because your whole promotion for that app was, I'm giving this away for free forever, and I'm doing it because I want you to make music, people. I love music, and that's a pretty generous thing to do. There's a lot of work gone into that app. It's a fucking beautiful app.
Oh, that means so much, and just like the feedback we got about just people talking about how it took them back to a time when anything was possible, and it's really having a profound effect on users and people. And one of the best things we can do in life is to help other people. Everyone watching has the power to make someone else's life better through some small gesture, even just a smile or a wave, or giving away a free app of a DX7, right? We all have this power to make the world a better place, and that compounds. And, in a selfish way, it makes you feel better too, helping other people.
Absolutely. It's the one reason I get out of bed to do this every day. This ain't about me. This is about seeing people create things, and I just love it. We have here on YouTube a huge community of different channels that not only like, the channels that do tutorials on these apps and stuff, but there's now a huge number of channels that play people's music like radio shows. There's like at least 10 I know that I'm at, every second day here on YouTube, and they go for 5 hours and they're playing all the people who are here in the chat, heaps of them here, who release music. So there's this, not only is there a community of people looking at apps and talking about apps, but now they're making music and getting played, and we're our own little community, like our community radio station. It's really wonderful to see. I love it so much.
Yeah, and like what you're doing is so valuable because sometimes people just need an outlet for their creativity. I talk to so many musicians that they don't make music because they say, well, no one will hear my music. And even just playing it for your peers can sometimes make all the difference and be that fulfillment of like, hey, I'm seen, I'm recognized. So great. Thanks for doing this, Jade.
Let me tell you, it is a struggle sometimes. I used to play at the start of each show somebody's song before the app review. Do you know how much hate I got from people's comments going, had to skip 15 minutes to get to the app review? It's like, what? You couldn't even take the time to listen to someone else's music. They'd put all this hard work in. So now I've had to move the song that I play every day to the end of the show because people are that impatient just to see the app review and then get the fuck out of here. Like they've got nothing else to do, man.
That's funny. And like, there's the irony, right? If it was their song, they would want that same that same,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Play my fire beat, as they say.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's people like you that stand up the unpopular things that make things better. You know, it's like just because you can make money off musicians by selling an app doesn't mean you have to, right?
Yeah,
It's okay to do unpopular things if you think it's right, and you know,
totally. I'm sticking by my
people that don't
guns,
like it won't watch it or won't download it. You know.
just like you have. I'm going to hit you with this. This is a two-part question when I have developers on.
Ooh.
What does music mean to you, Matthew?
Wow. So I think music, um, yeah, I have a different answer now than I would have like even 5 years ago.
Nice.
Um, so when I was younger, like, you know, music wasn't an identity. Like, you know, like in the 90s, like, you know, if you listen to like a certain type of music, you discerned yourself from someone else, whether that was goth or punk or whatever. That was it was almost your identity. And like for me, it was like, oh well, I have better taste in music than them. And you know, once you start making instruments, then you gain you know, this love for all music and all genres, and it's their expression. So now like I don't think of like any music genre of being like better or worse than anything else. And I guess the main thing now is I think of music as being more spiritual. And you know, that's a loaded word, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's something I would have really balked at, you know, just even like 5 years ago, like, that's a bunch of BS. But I think it does, like it brings people together when you have 500 people in a room all singing a song and connecting. Um, I don't know. There's a certain magic that I can't explain.
Yeah.
I know I sound like a weirdo, but
No, no, it's an incredibly powerful thing. Music. It means so many different things to so many people at different times. You nailed it. You know, there's times where I hate music and I can't listen to it at all, and there's other times I need it to get through the pain or whatever it is. You know, it's so vast. I think if we ditched the English language and spoke in music, we'd probably be better off as a species.
yeah, and to what you were saying about, you know, making music and everything like that, I found I'm happier now making music, not worrying what people think about it. Because for the longest time I was really concerned that people think that I was a good musician. Like even after I had made like a really popular music app, I was like, well, I need that validation for people to know that I can make
Yeah.
music, right? And now I'm like, I don't need that. And that is the best feeling when you get to that stage of, I guess, I don't know, enlightenment or stupidity. That's when you can really love to make music more than anything. And it's like I see that sheer joy in you and in like so many other YouTubers and people posting their stuff on forums and on Facebook. They're not afraid to put stuff out there. They just put it out there, show their expression. And you know, for the longest time I was afraid to put any music online, right? Because he's like, it's not perfect, it's not a good representation of me. And I think it's so brave to even post music. So
You know,
kudos to all that are posting music.
recently I've had to rethink what I post musically because I created a song over quite a few weeks using N-Track Studio on the channel. I made a video clip with LumaFusion. I released it, and then I got a community guideline strike for hate speech. Somebody reported the video, and I got taken down for a week on YouTube. And the song was about evangelical churches hating trans people. And the irony was, I got done for hate speech against man.
Wow.
Yeah, so now it's made me rethink how dangerous I can be with music because I think music should be dangerous. You should push the limits and keep it exciting. But now I don't know. We'll see. My second question is similar to this, but it's around development. What does development mean to you?
Can you clarify?
Oh, coding. I guess coding. The concept of putting together something for people to make.
So I see it as an art form. I know that can sound kind of like pompous, but like I look at it, and an app is a piece of art. You've got your sound design, your UI, and everything comes together to create an instrument. It's almost like me creating a song. And like for me, that's just as fulfilling as to have that agency. It's like I can make a lot more money working for someone else, but to have that fulfillment of creating something that doesn't exist. And, you know, you get a lot of feedback once you get like any kind of visibility in the App Store. And everyone's got an opinion on how your app should be. And I would just say, like, stay the course, do what you want to do, because you're the one that has to live with it and maintain it. And if you don't like what you've created, you're not going to support it and be proud of it. You know,
I always think about it, you know, because I'm in touch with you guys, you know, and we don't have like, you know, we're not in contact all the time, but, you know, you've got an app coming out, or we'll say hello and exchange stuff, and I'll do my show and, you know, say, here's what I've done. And I always think about how complex it must be to deal with some of the stuff that comes through to you, especially with a lot of people don't know how to get in contact with a developer when something goes wrong. And then they head over to the App Store and leave this shit stain forever.
yeah, well, I have a confession.
Okay.
I did not read a single review. So you may notice that no one responds to Audiokit reviews. And we have a fuck ton of them.
Yeah.
I think like Synth 1 is like one of the most rated apps in the App Store. It gets like, I don't know, thousands per week, and like worldwide it might be like 100,000 reviews. Like it would almost be a full-time job to read all the reviews. And it's one of those things where like it's either like a huge ego boost or it just like knocks you down. It's like, you know, like every like book author says this, you know, you get like 99 good reviews and one review, all you can think about is that one bad review. So it's just like, it's either you're going to overinflate your ego or just like distract you from doing your stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I can be a creative. I can create if I create in a vacuum almost. And if people want to get a hold of me, like I'm on social media, I'm on email. I can promise you people are able to get a hold of me.
Yeah. Very easily. You're very accessible.
I get a lot of comments.
But, you know, I think, how do we get the message out to people? Like I try all the time to get it out to people. If you've got a problem, if you've got a bug, how do we get this message out to contact the developer? Don't go to the App Store. It still seems to be a lot of people going and doing that and going, I don't learn this, doesn't work, 1 star. And then, you know, the problem is when it does get fixed in 3 days' time, they don't go back to the App Store and fix that shit up. You know?
Yeah, it's tragic. People, you know, it's with every industry that's reviews. I mean, like restaurants have it even worse, right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah, you know, it just goes back to people being kind to each other. And like, listen, most of the app developers are musicians themselves. And like, think about if you released a song and someone was just like 1 star, you suck. You know, after you spend all this money on gear and meticulously recording and fixing like a note in the third verse, you know, and like all the effort and care people put into the apps, like features that no one will ever use, or just every pixel, like, you know, you can spend hours, you know.
It's like Saga Synth. When I got that, the first thing I liked about it before I even played a note was the little cartoon character running. That's the first thing I noticed. And I'm like, I think when I did the review, I'm like, look at the little cartoon character. Like, and I'm sure people think, what a dickhead. Like, really? That's the thing that gets you excited? I want this feature and this feature and this feature.
Oh, well, that's the thing about apps too. Like once you do something one time, people will expect it.
Yep.
So I think now we have to have characters, because if I don't have a character, it'd be like, where's the character? 1 star.
Of course that's going to happen. Let's go back in time to your childhood. Do you remember the music that was played in your household by your parents as a kid? Who were some of the artists that you remember being played around the house, and have they influenced your music, how you create these days?
Well, I got to tell you, I grew up in rural Indiana, and so it was mainly like country, and I do have a love for classic outlaw country. So don't be surprised if you see this, you know, synth designer playing some country songs from time to time. But no, I think most of my music now is like more modern influence, and I still love new music. Like there's so many people, like once they hit 40, which I'm well over 40 now, they stop listening to music and say music isn't good anymore. But I find so much great music every day. And hey, if you make any music with Audiokit apps, tag me, Analog Matthew. I'll listen to everything that you send. Or just tag King FM too. So you'll have at least one listener. There you go.
There's so much good music. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I think we've just got to this place where people just expect everything to land in their lap every day. And it's like, no. Back before we had streaming on demand and everything, you had to go out to record stores and you had to go find these gems and find the things that shaped your love of music. And you still have to do that now. You just can't rely on Apple's like suggested music or Spotify's suggested music. Dive deep, find the shit. It's out there. There's wicked stuff, especially on Bandcamp. Bandcamp's where it's at,
Yeah. Bandcamp is a really cool company.
Yeah, I love Bandcamp also. Do you remember the first album that you were given as a gift as a child? And
No, I remember the first album I bought.
All right. Well, it's a double question. So the first one you bought and maybe the first one you were given?
The first one I bought, well, the first CD I bought was Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. And I thought it was so cool.
Yes, that's awesome. I went and saw them live. It was hilarious. And the drummer had the spinning drum kit. He was in a cage spinning around, Tommy Lee. And the nurses' boobs were so large, I was afraid they're going to fall over and they'd burst. It was these two nurses on each side of the stage. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Good Motley Crue.
So that's what I think of when I think of rock star. I think of someone like Tommy Lee, and that's so far removed from the reality of my life. I can't even fathom.
Russ8889 has put in my latest album, due out soon, King of FM was in there, and he's used one of my presets on you, Russ.
That's so awesome. I can't wait to hear it, Russ. So cool.
Where are we here? So first album. What about? So I'm curious because when I have developers on, I'm curious. Were you into software? Did you have a computer when you were young? What was it? What was the first kind of computer you had, and how did you get into this whole coding caper and behind all that?
Like how some people are like born drummers. I think I was a born coder. I mean, never really good at it, but I remember like even like there was this old computer called the TI-99er, and we had one, and you would actually get programs in magazines, and you would type in the code into the magazine to code. And so I just started doing that and writing dumb apps. The first time I like discovered like cool stuff you could do on music was basically like Bram's Hammerhead, the original one. Like,
yeah.
Year 2000, and that inspired me to make like a drum app. This was before VSTs. I made this simple Windows drum machine. I think it sold like maybe 100 copies. But
I was way into computers when I was young as well. I had a VIC-20 computer. I'm a little bit older than you, and my first foray into making music, if I can find a picture of it, let's see if I can, was a Commodore 64, and look, here it is, and it came with...
I always wanted a Commodore 64. That it was like, like too expensive, right?
It came with this piano thing that would sit over the top of the keyboard. Man,
I thought if I just had a Commodore 64, I would be famous, like that's all I needed.
And I used to sit up with my dad as well and get the magazines, and we'd sit there and code. I'd read out the code to him, and he'd type.
Right. Yeah, the magazine codes.
Yeah. And you'd get, you'd spend 3-4 days and nights putting in 15,000 lines of code, and then you'd hit run and it'd say syntax error line 3, and you're like, fuck me. No.
And now people will just say, ChatGPT, write me 15,000 lines of code.
I know, right? What the hell era have we moved into? It's amazing. It really is. So you get into code. You've got a computer. Were you into it at school? Were you a bit of a nerd at school?
Yes. I had very little friends in high school. I went to a rural high school. I ran a bulletin board system, if anyone remembers what that was, where people would have a phone and you could dial in and download files and shareware and freeware. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how
And it,
computer geeks and musicians were the nerds at school. I remember getting punched in the arm at least 3 times a week for liking music and being into computers. Good times.
yeah, and now it's partially cool.
I think it's cooler than when I was growing up. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It's no longer like frowned upon to make music with a laptop, you know?
well, you know what's interesting? It still seems like it's frowned upon to make music with an iPad for some reason. I remember when I went to America, and I was there for a couple of years in 2016, and everyone I kind of met, all these bands and stuff, I'd always get introduced as, this is Jade. Jade makes music using an iPad. And and every single one of them would like roll their eyes and go, "Huh, yeah, right." And I'd think, what the shit is wrong with you? Really? You're just going to judge it without hearing what I've made?
What do you think that is? Why do you think like people were so opposed to it?
I don't know. I think people get so set in their ways that they refuse to move on from their technology, or like Glenn Fricker talks about on his channel, people who buy expensive gear, and then when something like the Tonex pedal comes out recently that's so cheap and does what like a $2,000 piece of gear does, anyone who's invested lots of money into their computer and all their stuff sees an iPad come out for half the price and apps worth $4. They get shitty, I think, because they've wasted all their money. Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
I think building on that, I think a lot of people just don't understand. For example, also dating myself here, in the 90s, guitar rock. I played in a grunge band, right? That was the thing to do. Like Nirvana and Pearl Jam ruled the airwaves. And, if we saw keyboard music, it was almost like they weren't musicians in our eyes. We thought that they just pressed a button and like hits came out, right?
Yeah.
And so people may think the same about an iPad because they don't understand it. They don't use it. They'd be like, oh, well, you probably just press a button and some cheesy music pops out, right? They don't realize it's a valid instrument.
Absolutely. I was guilty of that, being a metalhead myself, electronic music, and I'd just look at it and go, it's not real. It's like a DJ. And now I sit here every day reviewing synths and loving oscillators and filters and all this stuff that I thought I would never understand. And I can't live without synths now. I love them so much, So touching on that, so playing like rock and alternative stuff. Were you in a band? Did you do any gigs and all that kind of stuff when you were younger?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of bad bands that no one's ever heard of.
What was the first band name you ever had?
Oh, it was like maybe like the Flying Dutchman or something stupid like that.
I
We had a
love first
called
band
No
names.
Starr.
So you've obviously done gigs and stuff.
Oh yeah. I played a lot of venues around America only,
Yeah.
but not as many as you.
It's a tough gig playing live. It's tough, We're in a day and age now where you can just play a live gig on YouTube and not even leave your bedroom. But back in the day, what they used to call it, paying your dues. You'd have to go play all these venues where you got ripped off by the owner. You didn't get any money. They tried to pay you in beer. Nobody came on a Wednesday night.
So nothing's changed.
No, nothing has changed.
You got beer? Wait, I need to renegotiate.
Oh man, there was this one venue here I used to play at in my band, and they'd book us for Tuesday nights, and every gig the owner would come out and say, sorry, hardly anyone came again. I can't pay you, but here's 2 sheets of acid trips. And we used to take them and then go sell them. You got to make money where you can.
So the best time we didn't get paid by a venue, they're like, well, you got to pack up early because we got someone else that wants to play later. And we're like who? Like what local band? And it turned out to be Prince. So we got to open for Prince. And I was not unhappy with that scenario.
No. Man, that is wild. That's awesome.
So now I can tell everyone I opened for Prince.
Wait.
I have pictures to prove it.
Now
That's my best gig story.
It's really fascinating that, because here you are back then getting to open for Prince, and now you make apps that some of the biggest musicians in the world are using. How does that feel?
Uh, I mentioned this in the King of FM video. It's like there's a lot of artists that like I grew up loving that somehow found my apps, like the Dead Milkmen, and like there's some like just this crazy, like the different genres. Like there's some really big like artists like drummer from Slipknot and crazy things that you would never think would use iOS. But when I saw Herbie Hancock use my apps, I'm like, wow, street cred, right? And then I thought, well, that was cool, but like, wouldn't it be cooler if I could give everyone those sounds so that they can like, hear what this instrument, this DX7 really sounds like, and really create before we get to a point where, I mean, it could happen like a year or two down the road, people just press a button and it generates a whole song, or they could make a bass line or key line, and VSTs as we know it might go the way of the ADAT. So we may have limited time here. So I'm hoping to make it fun and at least update some of our apps like Digital D1 and Synth 1 so that people can have one last hurrah with this era of music making.
It is. We are in interesting times, aren't we? With AI and all this stuff, everything's moving so fast. I don't know. I still see people freaking out, and I just can't see us ever getting to the point of investing all of our cookies into an AI-generated artist. That's even if it does, an AI-generated artist hits the top of the charts. I still feel that the need that people have to get to know the artist and find out who they are and then pry into their personal lives, find out who they're having sex with and all that stuff, you can't get from AI. So,
well, I mean, maybe those artists could just press a button and make their song. It's almost like Instagram, right? What are they doing? They're just taking like selfies or a photo, right? And what if instead of, pressing the button on your phone to take a picture, it's pressing a button to make the music? Like you're still getting to know that person, but they're also, how people like overestimate their contributions to things. People will say like, I wrote that song, and they'll truly believe it, even though they just pressed a button. That's just the way people are. They give themselves too much credit.
Yeah, they do. I'm going to play something else here, and let me go over here, bring up my iPad, and I'm going to open up Logic. Woohoo!
Yes, but to my point, I am so excited about Logic because I feel like it gives a new like hope to communities. Because I talk to developers every day who are just like so bummed out about AI in the future, and like Logic feels like a shot in the arm. Like, hey, maybe iPad music does have a few more years left.
I think it's got heaps of time. I really do. Like just watching.
I want you to answer that question every year from now and see what you think.
I don't know. I think it's got plenty of time. I think people just love. There's going to be people out there who just want to touch a button and do it. But I don't know. Real musicians. I say real musicians. It's the creative process. It's creating something and seeing it develop and crying as you're making it when it hits your emotions. I mean, that can't be taken away. If you're a musician, yeah.
If you're a musician, you're a musician. And here's the thing, like, how often do you talk to a musician and what do they say? Well, I just make music for the love of it. And this is going to put them to the test, because if someone else can just press a button and they're still toiling away, doing their bass takes and their guitar takes and singing, then we'll know that they're actually doing it for the love.
Yep. So I've got this project open, and I opened this from GarageBand just to see all this could go completely wrong. But this is something I made with Saga Synth. So you can see we've got a heap of Saga Synth.
On sale now for $2.99. Get it in the App Store. It really helps.
It does. Yes.
Yeah, like $1,
Yes, buy it.
I need a lot of coffee to make these apps.
Go watch my tutorial and watch me gush the fuck over it. So I made this with it. Let's hit play. There you go. So because we don't have too many songs to play, that's why I thought we'd go through and open some apps today. And, I think I made this in like about 15 minutes. This is...
It sounds authentic. Back then we had to use like trackers and everything else to make 8-bit chip tunes. And that could be a real soundtrack. That's so cool, right? Like the 16-year-old version of me is really cheesing out at your work there, Jade.
Absolutely. Like, when I saw you release this, because I'm really into 8-bit chip tune, all that kind of stuff. And I've got so many trackers on my iPad going, man, these trackers are so, I don't understand how to use them. I'm lost. They're so complicated. And when this came out, it was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so very much. Because I just love making 8-bit chiptune stuff. It just excites me so much. And as you can see, guys, it's working perfectly in Logic Pro. So for you not having a early access to work out if it works, it seems to be doing pretty well. And that's a good thing.
I can cancel my subscription to Logic now, then, it looks like. Just kidding. Apple, if you're watching, I love it.
So you download, you've got your subscription, yeah?
Yeah, I'm paying.
Yeah,
I'm supporting.
I am too.
Because Apple needs our money.
Man, I'm so sad though. I also got Final Cut Pro, and
nice.
Unfortunately, it's not working for me. I was on the phone to Apple for 2 hours yesterday, and it seems like there's an issue for a lot of people. So when I open up here, this is all I get. This for hours. I left it open for 8 hours yesterday, and it's we think, I was on the phone to one of their engineers yesterday, and it looks like it's an iOS 16.45 issue that's not clicking over the subscription properly. So they're going to call me back on Monday.
This is amazing because for years developers have been blaming iOS updates, and now Apple, for the biggest app release in years, gets a taste of their own medicine.
Oh no!
Like those effers over in the OS department ruined our app.
Yeah.
So it's like now they can deal with the same problems we deal with.
I was blown away by it yesterday though, because they jumped on my iPad. All I did was give them my serial number. And then they sent me a message and jumped on my iPad and with a little arrow with me showing me where to go. And I'm like, yep, open this. And it was so fascinating while I was on the phone and having them guide me around so they could do all the checks. And there was a guy from the pro team. He was just scratching his head going, wow. And then I showed him a whole bunch of other people from a Facebook forum, about 30 other people having the same problem. So hopefully they can fix it. But this is the thing, you know what? This is another problem with, I'm sure you have this as well. People find a problem with an app and they go to fucking Facebook and they're all in a group complaining about it there and nobody's there to help them. So it just doesn't get fixed. So I saw that yesterday and was like, I'm just going to call Apple. Screw it. And hey, it was 2 hours, but hopefully it gets sorted.
Well, you're a real hero, Jade.
Oh, yeah.
Not many of us would have the guts to call Tim Apple directly. You know who I am? Have you seen my YouTube?
I did mention it. It does help sometimes. Maybe one day they'll send me a free iPad. No, I doubt it. Let's say hello to folks who are here in the chat. We're like a little bit late with that, so I want to thank you all for being here. We got, let me put up some names. Robbie Stingle, hello. The Falcro, Russ8889, Tremor Bear, Pete Johns is here, Saga Kadabra, Feisty Feather. Type hello to me in the chat so I can get your name, guys. SLP, Ground Sound Music, Thomas Christ. Who else do I see? There's lots of people here. I said Feisty Feather, Joe and Barry Glenn, Zach Thong, hello to you. Who else do we see? Moby Pixel, what's going on? Good to see you. If you haven't subscribed to Moby Pixel, go and do it now. There is so much wicked content on his YouTube channel. You'll be blown the absolute F away. Gregory O'Sullivan, hello to you. Who else? I think I've got through most of you. If I've missed you, just say hello down the bottom and I'll catch you there. Many Vibes, Hugh Caldwell, Deep Gravity, hello. Kim Hudden Hudson. And I know Leela's here. A whole bunch of people are here. So thanks for being here, guys. It really is awesome to see you all. How the hell did you start Audiokit Pro?
So I can't take all the credit. It's the other co-founder is Ari Prohaska, and he is the original founder of Audiokit.
Right.
And so it kind of like the whole Audiokit Pro wing where we made end user apps started where I wanted to learn how to make a synthesizer for the iPad or the iPhone, and there was just no examples. There was no way to do it. I didn't know how to start. And my goal was just to make it free and just like show the code as I went along. And well, it started off, we're like, oh, it'll take a couple weeks. 2 years later, we finally released Synth 1. And, it got to the point where, people were like, once something reaches a certain level of good, people to say that you have to charge for it, right? Everyone was like, well, you're stupid for not charging for it because it's good now, right? But like our whole goal was always to make it free. And so wouldn't you want to make it as good as possible if you're going to do anything in life, right? Make it the best you can be. It's not something where, well, if it reaches a certain threshold, then all of a sudden, people deserve to pay for it, right? And I think that's a valuable lesson in life that I learned personally. I don't know if it applies to anyone else's life, but it's just like, stick to what you're going to do. And I've been really rewarded for that. I've gotten to speak in London and at all these universities and met so many wonderful friends and helped so many people's lives where we even charged like $5 for it. I don't know if I would have had those opportunities. So
it's really interesting. I said at the start, like when I first got my iPhone, I was just downloading all these free apps, just blown away. But I mean, I was such a geek for the iPhone. I got the first iPhone here in Australia, and it didn't even have work here because it wasn't released in Australia. But I just wanted to have it just to play with it. And then the 3G came out, and I got that, and oh my Lord. And I got into jailbreaking. I was a massive jailbreaker, and I started doing tweaks and writing my own tweaks. It was so weird back then. We were the beginning of the App Store. We were already hacking the shit out of the iPhone and creating all these tweaks. And it's been so interesting watching iOS develop and absorb so many things that were made through jailbreaking. Because back then, all you had were, like I mentioned, fart apps, all this kind of shit. And then all of a sudden this comes out, Audiokit, Synth 1 synthesizer. And as you said, so is this still one of your big sellers? It still is?
Well, it's free.
Well,
it's not selling anything.
But yeah, I mean, downloads, I mean, so.
Oh, yeah, I think it's still probably like the most downloaded synthesizer in the App Store. It's outrageous. Like sometimes, some days it'll get like 100,000 downloads in a day.
Right.
So it's just like, it's on a whole nother level than most like music production apps, even our other ones, right? And that kind of spoils you too. It's like the director that has like the huge movie, and then the follow-ups that may be better like are only viewed by a handful of people.
And I think a lot of people wouldn't realize, like Audiokit Pro, sure, you put out apps, but it's the code, it's the open source code that was put out there that really changed the face of iOS music, because here was this open source code that any developer could get their hands on, and they could make something for iOS musically.
Yeah, like it's the intersection of music and code that can be the catalyst for someone to make their first app in general. And check it out. This is kind of crazy. We were checking out the App Store like top 200 list, and almost 30%, like 1 out of every 3 apps was built with Audiokit code on the charts. And there's like so many apps that people don't know are built with Audiokit that use Audiokit, so. And we don't make a single dime from anyone using our code. So that's the crazy part.
And I think too that, yeah, it is amazing. I was looking through the apps. Let me bring up we've got apps here. Let me hit the apps page on the website. And there's apps I've never heard of. Of course, we've got Housemarque and all these famous, but there's so many apps that aren't like, that I've never even heard of. I guess we can go to Showcase maybe. Is it on that page?
Yeah, I mean, and that's only a fraction of the apps that are built with Audiokit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's mind-blowing that it's free. And I find this interesting too, because we were talking about this before the start of the show. There seems to be this perception for a long time of people saying Audiokit apps crash. And I don't see, it's weird because I never really experienced this whole phenomenon that people go on about. And I think people forget that you've made the code for people to develop apps. Now, it's not necessarily that the code is bung. It's, you got to remember, somebody else is taking that code and making something with it. So you don't choose what people are using that code. You know.
Yeah, so a couple of things to that. First, I have to take some ownership because like Digital D1 came out before AUV3 was even a thing. So that did crash, and so did FM Player because that's from that same code base. So like we were kind of patching old apps to work with AUV3 and it just never worked. And that's one of the reasons I made King of FM to like, correct those mistakes. Yeah, so the new Audiokit code is very, very good. And in fact, I would say it's better than the industry standard, but at the same time, it is a lot of people's first framework. So if someone's not a really experienced developer, of course, those apps might crash more than someone who's a C++ expert, because by nature, if they're doing hardcore code, they probably have 5 to 10 years of experience. Whereas someone with a few months of experience can make an app with AudioKit. And I don't know if Moby Pixel's in this channel right now watching, but he's got some really great tutorials on his YouTube that you could like kind of learn how to make like a drum machine or a synthesizer or a sampler with just 100 lines of code. So I definitely recommend his channel.
Absolutely. I was watching a bunch of those videos last night, and you can get to it. One of them here from the website under Showcase. Here it is: how to make your own iOS AUV3 app with AudioKit. I want to say with AudioKit. How to make an instrument app for iOS with AudioKit. Dude's got a lot of really amazing stuff. I've just been, Moby Pixel is here. So I have been going through his stuff the last week, just engrossed. I had no idea he had so much really cool stuff on there. Not that I'm going to make anything, but it's super interesting. Pete Johns has said here, AudioKit is the Unreal Engine for audio apps. I agree. Totally.
Yeah. Just something about Moby too. He's a really good musician and sound designer. So I think, he's got an app called Overdrive, which I'd recommend everyone check out because it's synths all run through like guitar pedals and something different. I think people need that fun and excitement and music, and iOS is still kind of the Wild West in that respect. You can have these fun, crazy apps that anyone can make. And you don't have to be like a multi-million-dollar company. Someone can come out, put out an app, and it can get like a lot of press and thousands of users. Like, how cool is that? So, if you're interested in making an app, try it. And don't worry about the people who complain because it crashes, because like they're not making apps. If they did, they would sympathize with you. So there's always going to be people in the cheap seats, right?
I love that attitude, because you have to, like anything, like playing music, doing YouTube, developing apps, you have to have a thick skin, because people's brains are kind of like lizards sometimes. They just, they have a thought and go, and they just start typing, and it's like, you do realize there's a fucking human on the end of this. Like, I don't know how to get that message through to people that there's a person with feelings like you that has to read this shit. Think.
So true. It just goes back to everyone being nicer to each other. So Jade, does anyone have any questions for me? I don't have the feed of comments.
Absolutely. Folks, if you have any questions, please type question at the start of it in the chat. Throw it in here, because I've got plenty of things to ask as well. So, but
okay, yeah, I wasn't trying to derail your questioning.
No. But throw the questions at me. I will grab them. I'm watching the chat, so I'm ready to go there. And Thomas has put a link over here for Moby Pixel. Good on you, Thomas. Thank you very much for that, because it's a rabbit hole you want to fall down. Trust me on that. So I want to touch on awards now. You've won a lot of awards for your apps as well. On the App Store,
yeah,
Apple have really given some praise to a bunch of your apps, and they always seem to be at the top of the charts. And you mentioned earlier you've traveled around the world, and what's some of the experiences? A couple of experiences you've had that are just stand out in your mind from doing this job?
Um, I didn't partake, of course, but I witnessed some like all night cocaine parties by some DAW makers in Europe. I would, I'm sober now, but even then,
So am I, man.
and it's crazy because like a lot of those European, especially folks in Berlin, they go hard. They will rave all night, get up, write the best code you've ever seen, and like I think people just don't know how hardcore like cool partiers those desktop app makers are. They're making your favorite DAW.
I think it's in every scene. I've in bands. It's the same. I used to do stand up comedy and do the comedy festivals, and holy shit, man! Some of the shit I've seen at comedy festivals with comedians. Comedians are some of the most depressing human beings you'll ever meet, until you ram cocaine up their nose, and then they're all right. Brad Example has a question. What made you want to put the codes open source? That's a pretty renegade thing to do.
Oh, well, Brad, I think the thing was like that was kind of the goal for the beginning. It was like, I don't know how to do it, so I want to make sure that once I learn it, other people can do it too. Like, why should everyone have to learn how to reinvent the wheel? Like, why keep that secret, right? It doesn't take anything away from me if someone else just uses my code and makes an app. Like, for example, like there's a really great synth that just came out called Butter Synth.
Yeah.
It's not made by us. It doesn't use our code. But when it was released for 2 days, our sales doubled. It's just like because everyone's in this together, and it's like a rising tide helps everyone. So even once our code got to be it's really good now. Audiokit is really good, thanks to Ari and Taylor and all the contributors, and it's still free and anyone can use it. So I would recommend just everything in life, like sharing your knowledge, and you're going to get all that so much back. And if you don't, at least you did some good in the world.
Absolutely. That is my motto 100%. That's what this channel is 100% about. Like, I get up every morning at 7 a.m. to do this show live. And, I just want to see people shine. I don't give a shit about myself. I've lived the rock and roll life. I've done all that shit, and it's great. But seeing other people shine is just amazing. Russ asked the question. Of course, Russ asked this question. Will Synth 1 ever be AUV3?
Well, I think it's my goal to make some sort of new version of Synth 1 by the end of the year. For a while, we went down the road of having Synth 1 be made in Juice, this other framework. And we actually have like a preset player that you can download. If anyone wants to email me, I'll send it to you. You could play it on Ableton or on Windows even. But it's just a preset player without any UI. But yeah, I mean, it's my goal to get it done this year, and it's still going to be free. Yes, maybe is my answer.
So
it's a lot of work. It's a really complicated app,
So I'm curious. You know what? Well, I'll do my sponsor because we're halfway through it, and then I really have a deep question for you. So let me bring this up here because I have to mention my sponsor. Well, I don't have to. I love to. So let me bring this up here. I'll bump you out so you don't. Where are we? We'll go here. DistroKid sponsor this show, my friends, and I am ever so thankful because you too should be very excited because you can release music to Apple, Spotify, Amazon, all of the fantastic distribution labels. And you know what? There's some you may not have ever heard of. And somebody's using them out there, which is really cool as well. And you can do it from as little as, low as $22.99 a year. And if you use my code, which Thomas has put in the chat there, and it's linked down below, distrokid.com/VIP/Jade. So you'll get 7% off your first year. And what I need to tell you about right now is, did you know DistroKid have an app? Yes, they sure do. And you can find it on the App Store. It is free to download. So once you've got your DistroKid account, you can very easily do this. Here it is. Let me show you it. There it is there. So you can find DistroKid on the App Store. You hit your little, go to the App Store. It's absolutely free to download. And you can do all of the, well, not all of the things, but a lot of the things that, for checking out. You can upload music, right? So you can upload an album, a single, whatever it is that you need to do. You can check your earnings very easily. You can check who's listening to your music, how many streams you've had, and you can even find out when you have earnings and get notified by that with notifications. Super easy, so you don't have to log into your account all the time and check out all this stuff. You can even edit releases, create a hyperfollow, and share your hyperfollow, and even use the fixer. So if there's a problem when you've put it up there, you've made a mistake, you can actually fix things. So it's really deep. It's worth your time to go and download the iOS app. And I do believe eventually it will be out for Android at some stage. So I know it's in development there. So if you're not releasing your music through DistroKid right now, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing out because it's a super cheap price and there's so many ways to use DistroKid. As you can see, look at all the music I release. Tons and tons and tons of music. And I get to do it at an incredibly low price. So I want to thank DistroKid once again for sponsoring this show. Hey, we'd love, I need to do it. Let's do the effect. DistroKid, I love you. All right, now that weird love affair is out of the way, thank you again, DistroKid. Metthew, I want to ask you, how does the process begin to start an app? What's the structure of an idea? You've got a team that you work with. How do you go through to get to from the beginning of an idea to release?
Well, most of the apps you see started as ideas like years before. It just takes so long to like bring something to fruition. But yeah, like, so do you want to see some secret apps I'm working on now? Like for the people that have,
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like our last few apps have been what some people like to call romplers. They're sample-based synths, and a lot of people give us SHIT for that.
Yeah.
But the reason is like a lot of synths are just the same code that people just repackage with different interfaces. It's the same sine wave code and square code. It's the same sounds, and it's like I don't think that adds to the conversation. But I've been working on some like modeling of oscillators, and something I was able to model pretty well is like the original Nord lead. Well, that's an A1, but I also have a Nord lead too. So I will be working on a pure synth that is kind of inspired by the Nord lead with like the same controls, the same kind of tone. It's not a one-to-one clone of anything, so Clavia can't sue me. But you could think of it as if they were going to make a Nord app for the iPad, this would be like the closest thing to it. And it sounds so good. But in the meantime, I have kind of like the spiritual successor to King of FM, which is King of Bass, right? And it's also a pure synth. And it's the first Audiokit synth we've released with pulse width modulation,
Right.
Believe it or not. So it is a true synth. But here's a little screenshot, and you can see it has more than a passing resemblance to my PlayStation 2.
Nice.
So it's definitely not a clone of that, but we worked with like a really cool like platinum producer, and I had to sign an NDA, and he's just going by Ghostwriter. But let me tell you, like these sounds are so good. Like I play one and it just inspires me, and I would pay like $5 just to have some of these sounds, but there's like 100 of them, and you get them all for $5 a month. Just kidding. There's no subscriptions. But yeah, it's cool, and it's gonna have like this cool thing where you can make any sound into like a kick drum, like an 808 type thing. So yeah, it's gonna be really sweet, and it's gonna have some cool Easter eggs, and it's just like you know, you could talk about features all day, but it just sounds good. It's to the point where I think it's my favorite like bass VST on any platform. I think people will want to own an iPad or iPhone just to get this app. I think you can make like a hit song with this app and GarageBand or Koala. I mean, it's that crazy good, whether it's like analog synths or 808s. I know I'm super biased, but I mean, it's like $5 you can get this, $5 you can get Koala, and you can probably make a hit song. But
I think
and I can say this because I didn't do all the sound design. Like
yep.
I'm super snobby with tone, you know that. So I'm excited about this a lot.
You have to back yourself with these things too, yeah. Because you know, if you're half-assed with anything like making music or anything that you do, if you don't back yourself, and it's not being arrogant, like it's not, people aren't going to believe. People won't believe what you're throwing at them.
It's like, what's the point? And it was like, I think I talked about that in like the King of FM video. Like I had this SY99 and it sounded okay. And I was like, well, there's not a bunch of SY99s in the market. Why don't I just sample it and make some money? And I was like, no, if I'm not going to use the app, I'm not going to spend 6 months coding it, right? And the same thing with this bass app. I'm like, do we really need another bass app for iOS? And then like I started working with this producer and I'm like, we need to get these fucking sounds out there to everyone right now. Yeah. Like this sounds so good. And so yeah, I think that's how I base my stuff is like I would like to have a Nord lead on the thing. It's not a financial thing because Lord knows you can't do that on iOS. It's just like what I want to have on my iPad. So
I think that's one of the most exciting things.
Hopefully I don't get a bunch of emails like, when's the Nord coming out?
Yeah, I'm already like going, can I be on the beta, please?
Yeah. So I'm thinking of calling it like a nerd lead. I don't know. I'll have to come up with something that won't get me sued.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you know, you've got like even with Saga Synth, it's called Saga instead of Sega, but you know, and some of the sounds are very reminiscent of a lot of my favorite games. How do you know? That's a minefield. How do you navigate that? Because you know you don't want to put something out and then all of a sudden your whole world comes crumbling down.
Right. I mean, there's really clear-cut rules. Like, for example, D1 was inspired by the D50, but you can't legally sample a D50, but you could sample the synths that they sampled to make it. You know, they sampled the DX7 and a bunch of analog synths and combined that with, you know, some wind chimes. And, you know, Eric Piercing, is that how he's pronounced? Piercing? The guy who runs Spectre Sonics? You know, he's just like a genius sound designer. And so like we kind of go through and do things the way that they were created. It's like if you're in a band, you don't go to your favorite band, you go to your favorite band's favorite band, right? To learn from.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we do here. And this has got me really bugabooed. So like we play by the rules, but like AI companies aren't. So they're gonna be like they're sampling people's samples and stuff, and it's really kind of frustrating, right? Because you know you do everything you can to be a good, upstanding citizen of the music community, and you have these big tech companies coming in, and I don't know, but we're still gonna stay the course and you know keep it legit.
It is going to be very interesting because already there's I know like Midjourney and a whole lot of the AI art apps things are in lawsuits at the moment because they are taking art from people. It's going to be very interesting where we head with all this copyright. I mean, because look at YouTube. So I did a show this week on Logic, my 2-hour like first look. I got 2 copyright claims on my video for playing a drum beat. Just a drum beat. 2 different songs copyright claimed me, and with me just talking over it. And I should have seen what I wrote in the rebuttals. Like, are you fucking kidding me? A fucking drum beat. Whoever reads that.
Ludicrous. And I'm sorry you have to go through that, and more musicians will. And here's the crazy thing too for other content creators. Let's say you make sample packs.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if I should even mention this because people might use it for bad, but there's like code out there that you could use to compile and like take a sample pack and basically run it through and generate a synthetic version of that that's kind of close but legally different and resell that sample pack, right? Someone could take, like Stephen Slate's drums and make a complete copy of it and sell it, and it's completely legal right now. Like what's going to happen with that?
Yeah, there's so many people worried about AI, like thinking that it's going to be Terminator and take over the world. And I think the big issue is not going to be that. It's going to be copyright, ownership of content. Like we are heading down some very dark litigation. And yeah, it's going to, I think it's going to stifle creativity for a while because things are going to get held up and people aren't going to know what's going on. And exactly what you said. I've got a question here from Deep Gravity. Have you ever thought about creating anything other than synth, like other virtual instruments?
Give me an example. What are you thinking?
Like guitars?
I'm thinking about like maybe a virtual bass. I do have some cool instruments. Are you a Joy Division fan, a Peter Hook fan?
Absolutely.
Look what I have here.
Uh-oh. Brad, are you ready?
So this
Oh man, that's sick.
Peter Hook's Hot 2 bass. There's only 2 of these in existence. This is played at every New Order show since 1983 that he was a part of.
Wow.
I currently have this bass in my possession, so I could sample it, and that's kind of the goal.
Wow.
I gotta say something funny. And I was like, what strings did you put on this? And they're like, oh, just use the strings that have the bass, the actual bass on it. It's like that. This is the bass on strings.
How meta.
Super cool stuff.
Man, that is hot because we're in a world where like modeling has become a thing. There's more and more modeling happening. And I know you talked to, we'll come back to the Rumpler stuff because I have a question about that, but we're heading down this modeling thing where, Piano Tech just released their piano and it's like 60 megabytes and things like crazy good.
So I have a really hot take on this.
Right.
That might be contrarian. But
awesome.
Come back in 2 years and tell me I'm wrong. I think, right now people are like, oh, it's not a real synth or whatever. But we're going to get to the point where computer generated is not cool. And people will want like a sampling of a real instrument, a real old analog synth. And that's going to be the gold standard because it's going to be to the point where any AI generator is going to sound exactly the same as your VST that uses computer generated code because all that stuff is built on the same open source code. Like every synth manufacturer, like every VST, they use Juice is the same oscillators. And guess what? That's what AI is trained on. So I think in like 2 years time from now, we're going to see a switch where people are going to want that analog sampled sound. And that's going to be like that 1%, authentic tone that gets people, that connects with people more than computer generated stuff and sets people's music apart. So here I am finally making real sense, and then it's going to flip back to romplers. So,
well, we do live in 20-year cycles. Like, it's been like that forever. I always equate it to flares. Flares came out, people were wearing their jeans with their flared bottoms, and people were like, oh, we'll never see flares ever again. But every 20 years, flares come back. These things always come back and people want what they used to have. There's a thing about nostalgia and I think you've tapped into it with your apps. Definitely.
So on the bell bottom tip. So that's a funny story. When I was younger, I was very poor, and lived in rural Indiana. And so my mom didn't have money for like new jeans. So I was like the only kid in school with bell bottoms. And I just didn't understand it, right? When you're that young, I was like, how come my pant legs are loose and everyone else's are tight? Didn't understand the concept of bell bottoms. So I was just like, felt like an outcast because I had loose jeans.
Man.
And now I have all this.
Nice. I've got another question. Yeah, go for it. Finish what you're saying.
That's all I said. I have jeans that aren't bell bottoms. It's crazy.
Yeah, skinny jeans now.
I have skinny nothing. Nothing is skinny.
Thanks to the pandemic for that. I'm so overweight, it's ridiculous. Russ has another question. Did Roland cause you a problem for the 909?
They did not, but they have been known to be litigious. They've taken down like open source 808s online, and so you have to tread carefully with Roland especially. And we don't sample like any Roland sample based anything ever in our apps. So if you see something that's kind of Roland inspired, it's, we did that through code or by using other synths to recreate it.
Absolutely.
I would recommend all developers tread lightly when it comes to the big R word.
Yeah. Pete Johns asked, question, is that Audiokit merch available, the T-shirt that you're wearing?
Well, yes.
From the website?
I'll have to put like a link more prominent on the website. Yeah, but we're selling them basically for cost. So
where do I find it on the website?
Oh gosh.
Just tell me, I can find it. Here we go. Here's a website.
I have to, I'm looking it up now. Like, we used to put it like in our mailing list or, so people could buy it. And like we'd sell maybe like one shirt every mailing list. So I just didn't even put it in there anymore.
Free stuff. It wouldn't be in free stuff. Everything's free. Look at all these free sounds.
Okay, yeah. So here you go. Just click on any one of those blog posts, then it's going to be on the right-hand corner on the bottom.
All right. So let's do that.
Yeah, just click on or any of that stuff on the right. Just go down till it says get Audiokit gear. Oh, see that mug?
Yep.
Yeah. Now click.
There we are. I got it.
Yeah. T-shirts.
So this, you've got an Audiokit Teespring. So there you go. Go to Teespring and search Audiokit, and there you go.
Yeah, and if anyone has like a company you think would work better, but I do like this just because they are like higher quality shirts.
Yep.
I think this is a next level brand, and it's form fitting, makes me look skinnier than I am. It's great.
There you go, Pete. I know Pete loves his T-shirts. I'm sure I had another question here. Let me see it. There was another one here. Question for Matt. Is there a way to make King of FM function in Logic on Mac?
Yeah, I mean, do you have a Silicon Mac?
It does work on Silicon, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like you can go into the plugin manager and just click the box that says use next to it, because it's going to fail the thing. And, I definitely, it's on my list to spend some time to make sure it passes that validation. But for now, you have to click that box. You click it once. But the problem is, like, Logic will sometimes come back and say that the plugin's bad again, and you have to click that box again when you load it. But if you're willing to do like that 5-second box click, you could use it as much as you want.
Yeah. So how has that been too? Because I remember when Apple announced, hey, we're going to allow iOS apps on the Mac, and then I think everybody was just expecting it all to magically happen, and it's like, no, that doesn't work that way. But when it did go live, what was it, with iOS 15 or 16? Was it 15? I think so. Yeah. A lot of apps just got automatically thrown into the Mac App Store. Did you have to opt in or out to do that?
Yeah, for a while they were automatically like checking the box, and you could uncheck it. Yeah, and here's the thing, like some stuff just started magically working. Like Logic wasn't ready for like a lot of that stuff, and just like we didn't do anything different, and all of a sudden like our app started working better in Logic and GarageBand. So it was like, there's obviously different teams in Apple, as you saw, like where Final Cut wasn't working with the iOS team, so it's like, Apple wanted to launch, just say, apps work on the desktop, but like the Logic team wasn't ready for that. So it's a lot harder than it seems. And people will point like, well, oh, hey, like the Moog apps work. Well, here's the thing. Moog has a separate code base for the desktop. They're not just using iOS apps and having them work. They have a whole engineering team, and they build a separate Mac version just so it will run better in Logic. So it's hard, and there isn't really like a lot of robust examples where it works flawlessly.
Yeah, because I do a lot of beta testing for developers. Thankfully, you guys trust me to do that, and it's interesting with beta testing. Do you get a lot of people who just like want to beta test just to say they've got the app and then never?
That is 99% of people.
Right.
So we typically only let like sound designers and stuff and YouTubers, because they're usually like like you get like 99% of your feedback from 5% of the users. So just go to those 5% of the users that are good beta testers.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I say it on this show all the time that, apps aren't Pokemon. You don't need to collect them all, but,
Unless they're Audiokit apps and you need to.
absolutely. Now, I say that not to say don't get these apps, but, I think the reason I do say that is because I do see a lot of people like pining for each new app, and then they download it and then they put a post on Facebook and go, yay, it's out. And then the next day they're like, oh, look at this one. And it's like, everyone's so quick to jump onto the next one that they don't really explore what they've got. So that's the reason I say it, that make something with it, just
Absolutely. But on the flip side, that's good for developers. It takes the heat off you. Like they'll care about you for one like 48-hour cycle, then they'll move on to the problems with the next app, right?
Right.
And so if someone continuously complains about your app, then you know that they actually really care and use it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. I mean, and getting back to the Rompler thing, I mean, I've seen I go to the Audio Bus forum. I don't really partake in it. I do read it, but I don't partake in it because I see a lot of, negativity here and there and a lot of complaining. And I saw that with a lot of these new apps that you've released, like VHS, but it's a Rompler, but it's not a synth. And I really don't understand the problem with it. Is it because they determine it's too big to download because it's sample based? I'm missing the
I think
point.
they just want to prove how smart they are, that they know the difference. It's like, we get it. But like, I guess they're kind of technically wrong, because PCM synthesis is a type of synthesis, and according to Wikipedia, so.
I'm going to play something here. So this is VHS Synth, another really awesome app that came out. Was this late last year? I can't remember. There's so many apps.
Yeah, it's really got a cool vibe. Like I think it's a really inspiring sound, and I can say that because Brian Funk did most of the sound design, so I can give him a lot of credit for like creating like a really unique sounding instrument.
It is. It's really fascinating because I would never have thought to run a whole bunch of things through a VHS. Like, who thinks of that madness?
Well, apparently a lot of people like it. I think this is still our most popular app.
It's wonderful.
It's like, like we just usually like your newer apps are more popular, but this is by far most popular selling app.
And I'm just going to play something. I think this was from my show I did. So look at this. There's only 4 instances of it. I think I'm running it through Zoa because I'm lazy.
Another Audiokit app built with Audiokit.
Yeah, it's amazing how much. There's so many apps that are just Audiokit's footprint is all over them. And I think people don't realize that. I mean, you've got Chemol K with you now, and then that dude is just, he's next level. He's been on the show here, interviewed Chem. He's amazing. How's that been working with him? What's he added to your apps that has been special?
Well, he rewrote the sequencer code all in C++. And just like timing issues, they're better with low-level languages than doing in Swift. So it's definitely like the sequencer wouldn't have the rock solid timing it does, and Saga Synth the King of FM without his help. So big thanks to him. And so that's just another example of like he's giving back after, like, I don't know, he's got dozens of apps that are built with our code, but then he gives back. It's like, if we wouldn't have given out code that he would have used, maybe our sequencer and King of FM would have sucked,
And I had Ryan on the show too, who made Zoa. He's an amazing developer as well. So I interviewed him and Chem. There's a lot of inbreeding going on here with the people I've interviewed. They've all got their hands in your code. So let me just play this for a second.
Yeah, let's listen.
Yeah, let's go.
And so that's all generative, like it's all like
Absolutely.
yeah, okay.
I think we're spread across 4 different tracks. So multi-outs. I mean, it's so easy to make music these days. You can just load up another app and in a second you've got a beat, of course with Hammerhead or something like that, you know, you're off and you're just making stuff so simply. I love iOS apps like this, like VHS Synth. Just, I mean, it's part of the joy of sitting here each day and showing how an app works and just live, just throwing things into it and just making something like that in front of people it's mind bending.
That's fun. It's accessible music making, and thank you for all you do, and thank you for all the people like watching and supporting Jade. You have so much entertainment, and you get to watch someone talented and contribute your skills as well. So, wow, it's really been an honor to be on the show.
Well, thank you. So and Dan Ekberg writes here, I don't care what VHS and King of FM are considered, they both kick ass. So that is the truth. I've got a few more things to throw you before we get out of here today. Pete Johns is up next. He's got his podcast up after this, talking about Logic, of course, which I'm sure Pete is so happy at the moment because Pete's been doing GarageBand for, so long. And I think he was at the end of the road with GarageBand just going, what else can I do? I've done a million tutorials, and now that Logic's out, I just know Pete is sitting there salivating for a whole new tutorials. It's because it's opened up the doors for so much. What I want to ask, I've asked this of every developer, how do you go about releasing something through Apple? What's the experience like when things get rejected? Have you had experience with things getting rejected and the contact between them to get it out? Is it a difficult process, or has it got better over time?
I have a feeling every developer you talk to is going to say it's a difficult process, and even when you have like popular apps, we don't get any special treatment, and in fact, it's worse. Like for like Synth 1. Oh, sorry, I got to get going here in a second. But for Synth 1, like we're judged even more harshly by Apple. Like whenever an app is more prominent, sometimes they can be harder on you. And it can be frustrating because sometimes you'll see apps that get away with the same things you get caught for, but because you're more high profile, you have to really, dot your I's and cross your T's. So
right. All right. Well,
you got is there a ball game you got to play?
Yeah. I used to work for Apple, my friend. I worked in the Genius Bar for a while, and I tell you what, when you go behind those magic doors in an Apple store, it's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Let me tell you that. Except there's no Augustus Gloop. All right, we're going to let you go for today. So thank you for coming on the show. But I do have one final question I hit everybody up with. If you were going to give advice to somebody starting out making music, development, doing something creative, when would you suggest for the best time for them to start?
Well, everyone knows the answer to that. It's always like either five years ago or today, right?
Absolutely.
But so like where would they start? I would start with like trying to create the simplest version of your app idea. Like if you want to make a whole drum machine, start with just making like one page of it and release it and go through that process. Because sometimes just getting that win is what you need to like get to the next level. And you'll see like a lot of features you wanted might not have been relevant. I was talking to a developer of a DAW, and they were talking about how like almost 90% of their features are never used. So like start with the core feature of your app and maybe just release that, maybe even release it for free and just see what people do. And then you could like build on that. But like it could be overwhelming to build a complex app. So Oh, that's a good point. We released this app called Analog Synth X, which was just basic synthesizer, and it got a lot of attention and a lot of downloads. And without that win, I'm sure I would have given up on building Synth 1 just because it was too complex. But because I did get something out, I did get a synth out, I was encouraged. So start with something small, and just think that small thing you're doing is still 10 times better than someone that's never released anything at all. So you should be proud of yourself. Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back for the little things. Yeah. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to go out and play a song you sent me. So we're gonna wrap up with that, and I've put it in a visualizer, so that should be, see if that works.
Yeah, so this is like one of the 60 songs I've started the last 6 months. So.
Excellent. So, and folks, now all the links are in the description to find Metthew, his app store page, so you can go download all these apps if you don't have them. You're crazy if you don't. Go get them. Start making some music. I want to thank you too for all the support you've given me on my channel. Offering me codes and allowing me to review your apps and doing giveaways for my Patreons. Thank you so much for that. It's an absolute pleasure making stuff with your apps. So it's fantastic. Let's go out and play this. Let's see if I can get this thing working. I'm using Rhythm. Yes, is it working? Yes, it is going to work. So remember, guys, I'll bounce you over to Pete John's show, which is starting in about 30 minutes time. So you'll automatically get dumped over there. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here today and asking fantastic questions. I want to thank DistroKid, of course, for sponsoring the show. Love you, DistroKid. And, of course, I want to thank you, Matt, for everything that you do.
Thank you. I thank everyone for watching. It's so cool that we have this community, right?
I'm so lucky every day. If you just want to hang on till the end of the show so I can say goodbye to you off the air, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And cool. All right. Let's do this. Remember, folks, do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. And you know what? We'll all rise together. This is my window. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll get the right screen up, make sure everything's good, and we'll see you soon, guys.
'cause you make me shine better.